Open source is incredibly important to me. I can say confidently I would not be here today if it wasn't for open source software. It's a huge part of how I started my career, got into YouTube, and made all of this happen. Life without open source is genuinely hard for me to imagine, which is why I'm really scared right now. We're finally at the point where AI is having a real impact on open source, and if I'm being frank, it's not very good. And no, I'm not just talking about the people on Reddit who are mad because GitHub isn't for them and they can't find the download button, as funny as these posts are. I'm talking more about stuff like this. Tealdraw's announcement that they're automatically closing PRs from external contributors going forward. Increased requirements for reporting bugs in projects like Node.js, where you can't just flag it anymore because they're getting so much AI spam. Or even the Tailwind drama I covered earlier this year that has been massively impacting their ability to fund the team and project. This isn't good. If things keep going in this direction, not only will it destroy open source, it might destroy software as a whole. Having these core pieces we can all rely on together as an industry is essential for our success building software. And it does not matter how good AI is. If it takes this from us, we are doomed. And that means we ought to fight a little bit. It's more important now than ever that we, as experienced developers, put our foot down and do everything we can to prevent this spiral from killing open source. There's a lot of different problems in open source right now, and one of the biggest is funding. Thankfully, sponsors have helped a lot, just like today's sponsor. Y'all might have seen a new project I recently launched, T3 Code. It's the best way to code with AI, but we have a couple problems, specifically this number. The number of pull requests we're getting is insane, and the amount of CI we'd have to run and wait for there would be even more insane. If we turn it on by default for all users, we have a huge potential security risk, but if we leave it off by default and go click the button when we want to run an action, we're going to be stuck there waiting forever before we even know if the code works. Well, that was the case before we started using today's sponsor, Blacksmith. The best way to run your GitHub actions. You make a one-line change, and yes, it is literally a one-line change, and now your actions are twice as fast and cost half as much. Yes, that does add up to a 75% savings in most cases. Don't believe me? You can go look at the PR yourself. This PR that I didn't even file, I literally just clicked the onboard button in the Blacksmith dashboard, and it filed this PR for me. I thought it might be more complex because this code base is building Electron across different things and whatnot. Nope. Literally just changed from Ubuntu latest to Blacksmith 4 CPU. That was it. Everything worked. Not only did everything work, it worked way faster. Our CI times for this app got cut in over half, from about 2.5 minutes to under a minute consistently. What's even better is their dashboard, though. We had a couple tests that were a little bit flaky, and the dashboard has made it so easy to figure out which tests are failing, which ones are succeeding, and why. Seriously, though, how cool is this? Having actual metrics of what things are succeeding and failing, and being able to see, like, oh, we had a huge spike in failures at this time yesterday. So useful to figure out what's going right and wrong in your work. And I can click here and see over time where the failures and successes were happening. And I can even go through and monitor, look at specific events. It is suddenly so much easier to figure out what's going wrong when things are failing. Stop wasting your time and money and sign up today at soydev.link/blacksmith. There's a couple different angles I want to take this one down. Specifically, we're going to start with the PR spam and slot problem, but then there's the dumber, angrier users problem, install versus prompt, and biggest probably is the funding problems. First, we're going to start with the PR spam problem. I've been pretty aware of this for a while, and I have a lot of sympathy for people like Tealdraw's that put out this change where they're just going to start closing any external contributions because they're just getting flooded with them. And I knew how bad this was, and it helped other maintainers dealing with it in the past. But this problem is much closer to my heart now because we're going through it ourselves. The T3 code base, which has been public for about 5 days now, has 150 open PRs. Mind you, we specified that we're not accepting contributions, and we still got 100 PRs a day for the first 2 days. I eventually added this because I was tired of saying the same things over and over again in all of the PRs. We're not actively accepting PRs. You can still open issue a PR, but please do so knowing there's a high chance we close it, defer it forever, and never look at it. If that sounds annoying, it's because it is. Project's still very early. We're trying to keep scope, quality, and direction under control. Yeah. There's a very real problem with software development around what I don't really know how to explain other than understanding of the system. When you build a project yourself, you understand the whole system. When you build it with AI, you might understand how the parts come together, but your grasp over the whole system is inherently going to go down the more and more you defer to the AI to do things. When you start accepting PRs, similar stuff happens. When you start accepting a lot of PRs from external sources, it gets worse. And then when those are built with AI, it just, the slop expands aggressively. If you understand 100% of your code base and then you merge a change that you don't understand 5% of, and then that happens again and again and again, you very quickly end up in a position where you don't actually understand very much of the code base at all. And it becomes way harder to maintain control as that happens. Previously, the only way you'd get in this position is by accepting too many PRs. Now you can do it yourself by coding with agents. And you can do it exponentially worse by coding with agents and merging PRs from other people with agents. And that's assuming you can get through them all, because there's 150 PRs. It's kind of intense. Like, this is a lot to deal with. One of the things we're trying out is Vouch, and we'll definitely talk about that when we get more to solutions. But I really wanted to emphasize how bad this is right now. There is no world in which we can give a proper review to every single PR we are getting at this rate with just Julius and me doing all of these reviews. At the same time, though, we have 33 contributors already on a project that's been out for 5 days. So that is really cool. The fact that people can get into a code base like this so quickly is a benefit. And I don't want to discount how powerful that is, because it is really cool. But that required a lot of work on our behalves. Personally, I spent most of Saturday and literally all of my Sunday just sitting, going through PRs, testing things, shipping new releases, just dealing with that. And I'm somebody who likes doing those types of things, and it was still draining for me. I basically couldn't do anything Monday because I was so tired from the whole weekend of triaging, managing PRs, going through issues. I had to bring 2 people on just to help keep track of the PRs and issues. It's insane. It's so much more work than I would have imagined, and I already was imagining it to be a lot of work. Like, just admire this ratio here, because this is something that never would have happened before. A greater than 10% fork to star ratio. For every 10 users that hit star, more than 1 clicked fork. That's insane. That is an absurd number of people who want to make changes to the project and contribute and be involved. That is unlike anything I've seen before in open source. I was expecting React's ratio here to be worse than ours. It's actually crazier. So might have to rethink that take a bit. Yeah, it looks like that 10% ratio is actually pretty consistent. This is TypeScript at around the same 10%. So we'll leave that in, because I like when you guys see when I have bad intuition sometimes. That was a bad intuition on my part. I can't imagine many projects get there as quickly as we did with that brutal ratio, but still, yeah, it is what it is. And if only PRs were the biggest issue we had with this type of open source stuff nowadays. Sadly, there's another bigger problem, and it kind of touches on this classic post on Reddit. The I don't give an F about the effing code. I just want to download the stupid effing application. Why is there code? Just make an exe and give it to me. This post getting 10K upvotes and blowing up the way it did signifies just how much things have changed. I'm sure a lot of y'all can sympathize with the things I'm about to talk about here. Most of us are pretty technical people. We just like computers. That's why you're watching a video about open source and AI on whatever day you're choosing to watch this on. You might even be staying up late at night just to watch this video. We are not your average person. We're probably not even your average developer. This community is full of people who, to be frank, are kind of fucking nerds. And that's awesome. I love that about us. I love the fact that we have this crew of nerds that come to hang out, that should be asleep right now, but are live watching me as I record and just helping me make awesome content about things we all are nerdy about and care about. I bring this up because there's a couple things that we just experience in life differently because of that. The one I'm imagining right now, and I'm sure a lot of y'all are this, one's in chat if you can relate. I used to get a lot of texts from family members, random friends in high school, and just people in my life asking random shit about computers. Anything from, can you help me get my Instagram account back, to what MacBook should I buy, to why is my camera foggy? Every vague tech question anyone in your life had, you're the person who gets it because you're the person that they know that understands tech. And since you have successfully written a line of code before, or maybe you like got a job at Google once or something, that's enough that everybody in your life that's non-technical is going to start spamming you with these types of things. Now I'm going to ask an interesting question. I actually don't know what you guys will answer here. Do you get more or less tech questions since AI started to blow up? I am very curious where this lands for y'all. Now that the poll's been up for a little bit, make sure you pick your decision before I say what I'm about to say. I personally find I'm getting way less, which has been interesting. I get significantly fewer of these types of questions than I used to. But what's even more interesting is the content of these questions. It feels like the questions I've been getting are different now, where I'm suddenly getting like random Twitch streamers hitting me up about their vibe coded chat app for not chatting with AI, but having their chat shown in their stream. Or I'm talking to people who I used to work with at Twitch that were more on the product side that are building their own solutions to random video problems. Or I'm talking to people who I know from like high school that are building apps for their friends' restaurants and shit. And none of them knew how to code. And all of them are confused, and the AI gets them pretty far. But what ends up happening is I get these weird questions that are full of technical terms, a handful of which are even being used correctly. But the question is like missing from it somehow. It's hard to describe, but it's this uncanny thing where even if the question is simple, the amount of mental energy it takes for me to parse the question out of it has gone up a ton. It's weird. It's similar to Bullshit Bench, yes. I get questions that feel like Bullshit Bench. I feel like that goes deeper than it might seem initially. And I know I've experienced this as an open source maintainer and developer myself. I have had a lot of people who are really confused that their T3 chat sub doesn't work in T3 code. I've had people who are really confused that their ChatGPT sub didn't give them API access back in the day. I've had people confused about all sorts of things that exist so far out of where they normally would be that are in a very, very confused state right now because they're suddenly way deeper than they've ever been. And this is a huge burden for maintainers and community people in particular. The quality of questions I see in things like the Create T3 app channels has gone down meaningfully. The quality of the questions I get about random things like TypeScript and TRPC has gone down hilariously. Beyond that, some of these people just don't get it to the point of hallucinating. I've been thinking about this comment I just got sent on Reddit far too much. I remember Theo saying something along the lines of React is dead, and because of that, there is Next.js. And there's absolutely no need for React, of course, because it's everything React does, but better. I cannot imagine a world where this particular commenter had written a single line of code before AI. This is a hallucination that can only occur due to a specific type of brain rot that is unique to these non-devs learning to code right now. And since they are shipping more than they ever could have imagined, they have a bit of a God complex. These people are insanely entitled, insanely toxic, and really demoralizing as a maintainer. Along the same lines, I want to highlight one particular PR that annoyed me. We had a stale to-do-MD file in the repo that had random things I was working on at some point in it, and someone filed a nonsense PR that tried to fix all of those things and ended up just breaking other things. They didn't get any response from us because we were being flooded with PRs. So he randomly tags me and two other people whose PRs merged recently. I was so annoyed about this because remember, I was like underslept deep in this Sunday session going through PRs and then got a notification from somebody spamming me with a PR where half of the things it fixes are already fixed. So how do you imagine this person responded here with this useful feedback that his way of contributing was bad? Yeah, I was a little harsh saying that tagging a bunch of us doesn't make me more likely to merge. It just makes me want to block you from the repo. Terrible etiquette, bye. But this is a lesson you need to learn as an open source maintainer. I had to make a bunch of mistakes like this myself in order to get to the point where I know proper open source etiquette. I was told by many people I was way too harsh here. And then, big fan, my friend, did not mean that. It was early morning in Brazil. I got a bit enthusiastic. Let's discuss etiquette. And the one you demonstrated was one of the poorest. Really crippled the image I had in relation to your channel and content. I have been contributing to projects since before you were born. Such an attitude, including some YouTube codes of yours that I've never received before. Feel free to block me, mature. This is somebody who never wrote code before AI. Straight up. And I promise you, you were not contributing to code 31 years ago, motherfucker. And this is the hot take. I need you guys to ignore my message in between because the reality is much simpler here. The type of person who does this is the exact same type of person who does this. These are the same people. And then making another account, because I did block him, named Theo is a child, so he could come make fun of me again. This is nonsense. And this is the type of shit open source maintainers have always had to deal with a little bit, but we're suddenly having to deal with it a lot. And this isn't about PR spam. This is about the degradation of the energy of the people who are doing open source maintenance out of the kindness of their hearts. You know, the classic XKCD, the dependency one, this random package some person in Nebraska has been thanklessly maintaining since 2003. Their job got harder. And we all need to be terrified of that fact. This person all the way in the bottom here, holding everything up above them, they already have an incredibly hard job. They're already on the line of giving up. They suddenly have more reason to give up, significantly more reason. That sucks. That has the potential to cause real long-term damage in this industry. This is how things like the XZ backdoor happen. If you're not familiar with the story, I'll TLDR it quick. XZ is a really important compression library used by a ton of open source software, especially in the Linux ecosystem. The guy maintaining XZ has been slowly burning out since he created it, and then started getting spammed with lots of really mean emails saying, how dare you not merge this? How dare you keep maintaining this when you're not doing anything? But there was this one maintainer, Gia Tan, who showed up and was actually really helpful. And eventually, Gia Tan offered to take over the project. Since then, we believe that those accounts that were spamming the original maintainer were not just bad faith open source contributors. These were fake accounts trying to social engineer this maintainer into giving up the project. Doing this to people has gotten easier, not harder. This is the exact type of attack we need to be really, really scared of. Doing it got way easier now that you can make it look like just well-meaning people spamming AI PRs. I could spend a night building a script that would immediately flood and ruin the lives of every major open source maintainer. It would be relatively easy to do, especially if you have your own project. If I just made 15 sock puppet accounts, merged all of their PRs into T3 code, started spamming other projects with PRs, and just set up some agent orchestration layer to just spam everything and then start emailing the maintainers saying, hey, how dare you not merge this? You suck at your job, until eventually they quit. It would be so easy for the right malicious person with the right background to straight up destroy half the software we rely on today. It's terrifying. It's never been easier to ruin open source for everyone else. And the biggest problem by far is the logo in the top left. GitHub is doing jack fucking shit to solve this problem. We'll get to these two in a second because I want to bitch more about GitHub for these two. GitHub will not save us. Funny enough, I've talked about this before, and not even in regard to AI. I did a video about GitHub's spam problem because GitHub is a somewhat trusted source of information that has been used by so many different tools and so many different things like search engine indexing. GitHub does well on Google. A bunch of spammers realized this and started spamming real projects like ShadCN UI with a bunch of porn links. This is not a fake screenshot, by the way. This is an actual screenshot of the actual ShadCN UI PR list. And it took me doing a video and flaming GitHub on Twitter publicly and pulling a bunch of strings with my friends at GitHub for them to even start introducing spam detection and bulk deletion and banning tools. Before this, they didn't even have a way to ban a contributor from your repo. It's insane. They are just so behind on even the most basic things that you would need to take care of the communities that we are maintaining on this platform. And I'm not speaking out of my ass here. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, Theo thinks he knows so much because he built a web app once. Motherfuckers, I built the best moderation platform on the internet with an incredible team. I shouldn't even say I built it because they did. I just got to help shepherd it to the point of success, and I'm so lucky to have been in that team when I was. It changed my entire career. It is the ModView dashboard on Twitch. This dashboard was built to be entirely customizable so that you can shape your moderation platform how you want as a moderator or with your own team of moderators. We have built so many things. Even here, you see in chat, so done these little 6-year-old spam suit PRs. It looks like somebody deleted that and it disappeared because we have real moderation tools here where things get caught by default when they're detected to possibly be spam. And one of us maintainers has to choose whether or not we want to let this in. I think this is fine. I would not have banned it, but look at that. We have an automod queue that shows when messages get filtered and why they were filtered and what action someone took on them. Twitch is a streaming platform for gamers to complain about game studios effectively, but we built way better moderation tools because we knew how important safety was to make a good platform. Why the fuck was my team of 4 able to build better moderation tools for Twitch in 7 months than GitHub with thousands of engineers, hundreds of which are dedicated to safety and platform maintenance stuff, have been able to build in 10 years? It's insane. And to their credit, YouTube's tools suck for this really hard too. Really, really bad. YouTube does have a good shadow banning type thing where you can hide a person. They can still see their own comments so they don't know they've been banned, which I do like. There's no real way to do that on Twitch because we show Twitch chat when we're streaming, so it's harder to hide somebody like that. But yeah, for the most part, YouTube's moderation's garbage in comparison. And God, GitHub's is non-existent. And now we are stuck as a community trying to build our own solutions. I was going to wait till the end to cover solutions, but I do want to try and discuss them for these pieces here. I've been seeing a handful of projects trying to figure this out, and some of the solutions I've seen are actually quite cool. One of the first I saw was from Reese, who used to work at Vercel. He's now at OpenCode. He also built Answer Overflow, which is a tool that turns your Discord Q&A channels into search indexable websites. He has a lot of open source stuff that has a lot of PRs going into it and wanted to make it easier to identify whose PRs are worth looking at based on their history doing contributions. So he made PR stats, which will show what percent of your PRs end up getting merged, what PRs you filed, where they have been filed, what types of work you have done. This is awesome. I really, really like this. That all said, this type of karma is hard to build and maintain, and it's weirdly easy to fake through strategies like what I mentioned before. It's not everything, and it would also block out new developers and contributors in a way that I don't necessarily love. It is a useful stat. We should absolutely merge things like this and bring them into our tools. But there's more we can do, and I really like a hands-on approach, which is why I'm really hyped with what Mitchell is creating. If you're not familiar with him, he's the guy who made Ghosty as well as Terraform. Mitchell knows his shit. He built Vouch because he was tired of the nonsense PRs he was getting in things like Ghosty. Funny enough, Vouch has 2 PRs open and 8 issues, which is insane, especially considering how useful and used this project is. So what is Vouch? Community trust management system. People must be vouched for before interacting with certain parts of a project. People can explicitly be denounced to block them from interacting with the project going forward. You set up Vouch as a workflow. It will automatically run, in this case, whenever PRs are opened, reopened, synced, ready for review, converted to draft, all the different things that change the status of a PR. And there is this Vouch TD file that has all of these GitHub users that we have personally vouched and decided that their PRs are worth at least looking at. And now when I go to the pull request tab, you see certain PRs that are unvouched and certain ones that are vouched as trusted. And more importantly, when I'm busy and can't look through everything, which is most days, I can switch to vouch trusted and filter out over 2/3 of the open PRs. So we went from 150 to 43. And now this is like actually viable. To be fair, half of this has been Bandit fixing all sorts of random one-off bugs. God bless him. This is an example of what I would consider a golden PR. These are the ones I love. Handle draft PR conversion in PR Vouch. Summary, add missing converted to draft pull request target trigger. Ensure trust labels are refreshed when an open PR is moved back into draft state and keep the working behavior unchanged. It's a very simple PR. It clearly describes what it does. So when a draft PR is bumped out of draft, we need to recheck the vouched state. This is a simple one-line change where you added this one additional field for when it's converted to a draft. Awesome. Great change. And I love these types of PRs. Here's another really good one. This is one where there was a missing key for the local storage cleanup list. We forgot to include render state v7, which is just a thing we do to persist where things are in the UI. We forgot to clean up old data. He noticed that and went and filed a PR, adding this one additional line for the things that need to be cleaned up. I love these. These 1 to 5 line PRs that clearly state what they're doing and why they did them are the best. Here was another one that was really good. I actually initially didn't know how important this was until I looked at the issue and read a bit more, but the PR was super clear. We were using the app name as the directory where files were saved because that's what happens by default in Electron, but the name had like parentheses and spaces and things in it that aren't great for a lot of platforms. And he changed it to just be T3 code or T3 code dev in dev mode. Put a great comment describing what we're doing and why, as well as code to pull out the old data and move it over so we can handle that. Just good PR, reasonable changes that were actually needed. Since it was super simple, linked to the issue, described what was going on, this was a very easy PR to click merge on. Another great one from Maria. Aligning package versions before building artifacts. So this makes sure that all of the package versions for everything are the same before we go and build the actual release, which is a thing we definitely should have been doing before. Wait, why is Maria unvouched? What went wrong there? The only thing I've ever used the GitHub UI for editing things for is creating license MDs and like changing the license for a project, but more importantly, for updating the vouched MD. And now when she files PRs, they will be marked as vouched. This is a great system. This is going to make this project significantly more maintainable than it otherwise would be. And once again, thank you to Mitchell for continuing to put out incredibly useful things like this. Mitchell Hashimoto is a legend and deserves all of the flowers he has received. I will hit the follow because I probably should have forever ago. Great project. I've also seen some effort in projects like Anti-Slop, which is set up to make it easy to scan a PR and identify if it is likely to just be AI slop and close it. This is really cool, but my concern is that the costs for something like this could quickly escalate because you almost certainly have to use AI to actually scan these PRs. It has a lot of config. Enough config that I am almost certain that this project was vibe coded, but yeah, you get the idea. There are a lot of solutions being made to try and fix these problems. Some of them are going to make it harder for new maintainers to break out, which sucks because we might just have our current maintainers until they die, and then all of this slowly evaporates. So I want to make sure whatever solutions we end up going with long term leave room for developers who are new to open source to still be able to break in. And thankfully, finding good PRs and good contributors still is relatively easy. They stand out in that list of PRs. I have been surprised how quickly I can identify which people are good and which ones aren't. I generally believe that good maintainers are great at making themselves known, even if they're not doing it intentionally. Good maintainers stand out, much like bad ones do. Bad ones do weird stuff like tagging a bunch of people when they're not happy with how quickly their PRs responded to. Good maintainers make it really easy to understand what changes they made and why. This is a thing we all have to do as maintainers of open source software, and it sucks, and it just got way harder. It almost feels like Hacktoberfest, but forever. And that terrifies me. I put so much effort into killing Hacktoberfest. I think this video of mine, Don't Contribute to Open Source, is one of the best videos I ever filmed. Not sure who that blonde guy with the mustache is, though. Seriously, though, that video, I've been told by so many maintainers how thankful they are for this video, more than almost anything I've done as a developer and journalist, YouTuber, whatever you want to call me. This video has been the one the most people I care about have talked to me about and thanked me for. This is a thing I've cared about for a long time, and I am so thankful people are aware of it now, but also terrified that the awareness isn't counteracting the rate at which the problem is growing. We need to make more people aware of these problems so they're more sympathetic to it. We need to put more things in between the problem and the maintainers so they don't get burnt out. And we need GitHub to just wake the fuck up and do more about this. GitHub needs to build in more of these tools. They need to make this part of the platform and not continuing to pile on more burden onto open source maintainers. That is the biggest problem here. And I want to make sure that is clearly emphasized throughout. The things that suck for open source maintainers keep getting worse. The fact they have to set up all these tools and deal with all this slop is making the hard parts harder. But what about the good parts? What about the popularity of your package being installed a whole bunch? What about the job opportunities you can get from that? What about the contracts you can get with businesses helping them maintain their interactions and their integrations with your solution? What about the sponsors you can get funding your open source projects? To be very clear, none of those things were ever good enough. Open source maintainers did not get paid enough, they did not get enough recognition, they did not get enough credit, and they certainly did not get enough sponsorship. Those problems have gotten way worse. One of the things I saw a lot of open source maintainers do was sell courses. They would sell workshops and courses to businesses that wanted to use their solutions as a way to make money. And I know a couple people that made a meaningful amount of money, like comparable to an eng salary, from doing stuff like that on the side for 10 to 20 hours a week alongside the maintenance of their projects. That's not the case anymore. I also know people like Tailwind. What Tailwind would do to make money is they would sell things you wanted to speed up your development cycles. You'll see in the corner here, there's this little plus button, which is a subscription you can pay to Tailwind to get a bunch of reusable blocks, templates for pages, and their complete UI kit. There was some name for this before it was Tailwind Plus, and we bought it forever ago, back in 2021, and they still give us updates to this day with a one-time lifetime purchase. Tailwind's been awesome and super generous with the $100-something we spent for that forever ago for our business, but we've also built so much on top of Tailwind and only paid them $150 or so over 5 years of building everything we build on top of it. And if I'm being real, if I didn't have this now, the likelihood I pay for it is near zero because I'm already paying $200 a month for Claude, which I can tell to go build the thing instead. I could literally take a screenshot of any of the UI I see in here that I like, hand it to an AI and say, build it. And not only will it build it, it'll fucking use Tailwind when it does it. That's not great. Do I think they should be forced to make the AI dumber to make sure that these open source devs can still be paid? No, I don't think they were paid enough in the first place. And now we're in this weird world where companies might not even use the thing because if they see it and like it, they might just rebuild it themselves. Even I'm guilty of this. There were projects that I thought were pretty cool, like Conductor and Codex Monitor. Conductor wasn't open source, so I couldn't really do anything to it when it didn't work the way I needed. Codex Monitor was open source, but it was clear the dev was busy with other things, and also the project wasn't quite how I wanted to build it, but it was an incredible reference, one that I looked at and thought about deeply when I built T3 Code. T3 Code would not exist if it wasn't for those other projects inspiring us. On one hand, we were inspired to do things like contribute, but on the other, we were inspired to go build our own thing so we could own it and control it ourselves. And I've seen a ton of this since. For every one person I've seen fork T3 Code to add features and things they want, I've seen another that was inspired to go build their own alternative. that hurts the top of funnel for these open source maintainers. The likelihood somebody even engages enough to care about the maintainer has gone down. And if they even do get that far, the likelihood they spend money has also gone down. So the upsides of open source, which are the proliferation of your software, the proliferation of your ideas, and the potential to get funded for those things, that has gone down a ton. But the burden of open source maintenance has gone up a ton. And that ratio shift terrifies me. And this is where we need to do something. The open source pledge is a great start, but it is just the start. The open source pledge is a thing that Zeeg pushed for at Sentry that has now become a good amount bigger a thing. The open source pledge is a simple agreement companies can make where they agree to pay a minimum of $2,000 per year per dev at your company to open source maintainers. So if you have 5 engineers, you are now agreeing to pay 10 grand to open source projects every single year. And you're expected to self-report this every year about where you paid, and what you're doing with all of this. They already have an incredible group of companies that are doing the pledge, like Posit, Sentry, Sanity, channel sponsor CodeRabbit, Hero Devs, Antithesis, ZeroDa, channel sponsor Railway, previous channel sponsor Bolt, SERP AI, Astral, Prefect, Void Zero, Pydantic, AG Grid, a personal favorite Convex, who's at $7,692 per dev every year. That's an insane number. That a tiny company like Convex that just did their Series B and is so small is contributing way more money to open source than almost any big company is. That shows how fucked things are. Front-end Master's also killing it here with $10,000 per dev at the company. So if you work at a company that has money, go bug your boss and their boss to do this. And if you are their boss, go do this. If you have the money to spare, paying for the software that we use every day to continue to exist is essential. It is a very important thing. And as we can see from this wonderful load of the GitHub repo for T3 code, there is no world in which GitHub is going to fix anything. They can't even render CSS properly. I hit this bug once a day now. It just happens. As I was saying before hitting that bad load, there's 2 more important things that we all can do, and I hope I see more developers doing this stuff. The first one is helping with the burden. There are so many little things you can do other than opening PRs. And I really want you to try and embody the problem before you do anything in a repo like this. The biggest problem we have is the sheer volume of PRs and the effort it takes to validate if any of them are even worth looking at. There's tons of little things that make this suck, like the fact that I can't see how many lines were changed in this view. That makes it way harder to know if a PR is egregious or not. Because like if there's a PR that's title is a very simple thing and it's like 1,000 lines, I just want to get rid of it. And don't even get me started on the Issues tab. Issues tab is even more chaotic work to manage. So how can we help maintainers with these things? One of the best things you can do is helping clarify what matters by being in the weeds of things. We have a couple maintainers that have already been very helpful for this. Huge shout out to Maria and Bin Bandit. They've been essential as this repo gets more and more popular. So here's a bug somebody reported where they can't close the diff side panel. Someone asked, you got the latest version? Oh, I see this bug. We'll push a PR soon. CC Julius so that he knows that he's working on this, so they don't end up clobbering each other working on the same thing at the same time. Filed a PR, stated the root cause, stated the fix. Core fix is the same as this other PR that somebody else filed that was the same thing. The difference is that 930 introduces a new search params helper that set all 3 keys to undefined, while this PR just inlines this one particular thing. This is so good. This is golden examples of doing this right. He took this issue, identified other things that are touching the same stuff. The only thing he could have theoretically done better, and I don't even know if this is the case or not, is if there were other related issues, if he had linked those here. And I would bet that in his PR, if there are other related issues, he's mentioned them. Okay, just as 935, so it's probably just that one. This is the type of person where if I was trying to hire right now, if I had any budget to do such, they would be very high up on my list of people I would want to hire, because this just makes my life easier. If you see an issue that's really stale that has already been fixed, comment saying, hey, are you sure you're on the latest version? I think this PR fixed it. It doesn't happen for me anymore on the latest. These types of things are so goddamn helpful. And once you've done that a bit on the issue side, you can start doing the same on the PR side. And here Bin Bandit is giving UX feedback to get this PR more polished while also asking the team what we think about this before going too far with it. That's great. He's reviewed PRs of mine and others. He has given useful feedback in the comments. He's answered questions when I have them. He's preempted questions and answered them in the PR description. So good. And you quickly, as a maintainer, start to associate these names with these good vibes, which means I now know if I want to just get some shit merged and I see Bin Bandit's name pop up, or NMG's name pop up, or Egg Fried Rice pop up, or Maria, or any of these people, the mapping in my brain has quickly been completed such that I know I can trust these people because they write things very well. So good. But there is one last thing that I think is really important. And if you take anything from this video, I really hope it's this. We need to be nice to open source maintainers. These people are doing one of the most thankless jobs in the industry. We can make so much money writing code for companies, and they are instead choosing to do that work that could make them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for free. These people are building the foundations that we build our software on top of. They deserve to be treated well for that. And I'm not saying that by simply making an open source project, you are now a deity that people need to bow to. I'm saying that we as users of these pieces of software should put a little work into being thankful to the developers who build the things we build on top of. I don't want this to just turn into story time, so I'll do my best to keep this point brief. When I said at the start of the video that I'm only here because of open source, that was not an exaggeration in the slightest. The only reason anybody knows who I am is because I DM'd Fred Schott, the creator of Astro, and Ryan Carniato, the creator of Solid, when I still had like 500 or so followers on Twitter, because I really liked their writing and I wanted to give some feedback on the like prose and the structure of their blog posts, because I'm a nerd about formatting of writing and text. Believe it or not, the guy who does YouTube videos for a living likes the flow of words. Who would have thought? Both of them were so cool about this. When I hit them up saying, hey, the work you've done is awesome. I really liked this post. Would you be down for some feedback on the way it was worded so it's easier for more people to digest? That worked way better than I ever would have imagined. I have 100% hit rate for me hitting someone up saying, hey, can I give some feedback on the way you wrote this? And them saying, fuck yes, absolutely. I'm not saying everybody should go give prose feedback to every article on the internet. I'm saying that I appreciated their work so much so I was reading their blog posts and I hit them up about that, this thing that I cared about and I had a feeling they did too, and offered something that made the thing they cared about better. The offer is not the part that matters there, though. I really want to emphasize the prior part, which is thanking the people who do cool shit in ways that are not interfering with their day-to-day. It's silly, but like, a dear way of putting this. I get a lot of messages from my own fans thanking me for helping them get their first good job or help them get a promotion or help them establish their project or whatever. I didn't do any of that. I am just a tool in the toolbox that those people chose to use to build their own success with. But those messages still feel awesome. Those messages make my goddamn day. Seeing somebody hit me up about how they were a line cook for a decade, learning code on the side, didn't feel like they could really do it, but watching my videos made them feel more like this crazy tech world we were in was a place they could fit. And now they have awesome tech jobs. My video isn't what did it. My channel isn't what did it. They did it. But that message still makes me emotional. It still makes everything feel worth it. Those are the messages I think about when I come upstairs and consider just canceling stream and going down to play a video game or check my email or something. Those people are the ones that make me so excited to keep doing this. Be one of those people, but not for me, for them. Thank these maintainers and do it in a way that is genuine. If it isn't genuine, don't do it. I'm not saying write some sappy message or ask ChatGPT to glaze some random library you like. I'm encouraging you to think about the tools you use. Look at the packages they use. Look at where they came from, who made them, why'd they make them, what does their GitHub repo look like, what are they contributing, what are they merging and not merging, what do they care about? There's a very good chance you care about the same things if you even took the time to notice they exist. The reason people maintain open source software is because they care so much that you could argue it's too much. And when their job gets harder and harder because of all of this AI bullshit, it gets more likely they give up. The reason they're here is that excitement. And if you can remind them of that, if you can be the excited thing that made them do this in the first place, you can make it feel so much more worth it. You should pay them too, but this is even more important than the financial compensation, because if they were just here for money, they would get normal tech jobs, but they're not. There's a lot of things about me that make me a bad dev, a bad influencer, bad influence in general. But one of the things that I've learned to love the most about me is the way I reach out to the things that I find cool. When I see something that's interesting, I think less about the thing and I think more about the people and why they made the thing. And I'll often reach out. Even when I was a nobody, I would. And the craziest thing is that the likelihood I get a response has not gone up meaningfully since I got popular. When I had 1,000 followers and when I had 300,000 followers, the likelihood that I got a reply stayed roughly the same. Okay, it's actually gone down a lot since they absolutely fucked the Twitter DMs with the update with the encrypted stuff. But before then, the rate stayed nearly flat as I continued to get more relevant in the space. A simple 2-sentence, hey, I really appreciated this PR you shipped. I've been a fan of what you've been building for years. This library makes my life much better. Thank you. Those messages might seem small, but they can actually change your life. And I would not be here today if it wasn't for the things like that I did when I left Twitch. Hell, even when I was at Twitch, I did stuff like that. And it can entirely change the trajectory of where you're going in this crazy field. But more importantly, it makes these people less likely to give up. And I don't want to live in a software dev industry where the best maintainers who built the foundations we build on top of have all burnt out and given up. I want to make sure we all work together to prevent that. Be nice to the people who build the software you use, pay them if you can, and thank them either way. I hope this helps you guys be better open source users so that we can keep open source working as well as it does now. Thank you all as always, and until next time, peace nerds.